Sports Show this Saturday morning. Thanks for joining us. It is Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit, talking sprint cars, as Steve Post would say. I'm your host, Ashley Stremme, and joining me again this week is Erin Evernham. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks. I'm honored to be on for the second time this year. I kind of like Steve being busy.
I'm not going to lie. I'm enjoying these girls shows that we get to do every now and again. It's always fun to catch up with you and talk sprint cars, of course. And it's been a very interesting season. You know, we kicked off with Volusia, obviously digging deep with sprint car racing, and now we're kind of in this lull. You know, sprint car racing is happening in Pennsylvania and still a little bit down in Florida, but we're kind of sitting here waiting for the World of Outlaws to go. And we've talked about this a little bit, about the risk versus reward with what the Outlaws chose to do. And Mother Nature has been cooperating so far this year, but I think has been in their best interest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in the last 2 years, them doing that big West Coast swing and so many rainouts left the guys paying for hotels and travel and food and no racing. And racing is where they obviously make their money. So I think it was a smart call by the World of Outlaws. But it is interesting to see teams like Shark Racing back home getting a few nights under their belt. And the weather's cooperating in Pennsylvania. That doesn't happen often this time of year. So it will be interesting to see how things play out. And those poor guys that are sitting at home dying to get to, I think Texas is where the Outlaws head next.
Yes. Well, like you said, the Shark Racing in Pennsylvania getting to get some laps in at Lincoln, somewhere they don't get to hit often. So they'll be ready and prepared for have a little bit thicker notebook when May rolls around, when the World of Outlaws roll into Lincoln. But like we said, racing is still happening in Florida, and USCS is still rolling along strong. God love them. It was the Southern Raceway. Speed Shift TV has the call for your dry Dean Diesel all death-defying move of the week. It was a Mark Smith. He passes Danny Smith, and he goes on to pick up the win. And I think I've lost count at this point.
Yeah.
Mark is on a streak, a holy terror.
Yeah, it goes back to last season.
Yes, 7 or 8 wins with the USCS now. And here it is, your Dry Dean Diesel all death-defying move of the week.
It's going to be Danny Smith. Oh, Emerson looks like he's got problems on the backstretch. And here comes the one of Mark Smith. Mark Smith, your new leader.
Knoxville, Iowa, the Hall of Fame building, and Hall of Famer Doug Clark joins us. Hey, man, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good. I want to go back and talk about your career, but we are here at the Hall of Fame. You're a 2016 inductee into the Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you? What did that experience mean to you?
It was really a neat deal, and I'm just happy I got into it before I was dead. And that's a happy deal, because this way I can enjoy it and celebrate it, and I get free ticket.
Well, there you go. See that? Very practical. Nothing wrong with that. That is great. Doug, going back, you were born in the early 50s in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. How did the racing bug bite you? Where did that all start?
Well, my brother, he used to work in a welding shop, and the guy that owned the welding shop, he was a sponsor on a race car. Okay. And my brother was doing the work in the welding shop, and they'd have me come down there and clean the shop at the end of the day or every day or whatever. Right. And the guy didn't want to, or he probably would have paid me, but he would going out to the races on Sunday. So instead of paying me, he'd take me out to the races and give me a couple of dollars, just sit in the grandstands and watch races. And I'd ride out there with him, ride back home with him, and just sweeping the shop. And
that had to be quite an experience to get out to the track and just see the cars go around as a little kid. That had to be neat.
It was neat because when I got there, I used to sit in the grandstands with Doug Wolfgate and his dad, because Doug's dad ran the pit gate going in and out for the people going in and out of the grandstands and stuff. So Wolfgate and I are from way back, and We just used to sit there and watch the races.
So, and I want to talk about that, but I think I'm gonna move Doug Wolfgang. We'll talk about him a little bit later on because I kind of want to follow along the way. Now, somewhere along the way, you went from a fan in the stands to working on the cars.
Yeah.
How did that transition?
It started out. I started helping a guy from California. His name was Bill Hill.
Bill Hill, right?
And I was like 16 years old when I started working on the race cars, and helped him for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, something like that. And then Wolfgang was going to put a race car together, so I helped him. And then he went and got to the bigger class and stuff like that. So then I started helping Daryl Dawley working on race cars, and he started crashing a bunch. And I got tired of working on the race cars, and the racetrack in Hartford, South Dakota needed a flag person. So I said, well, give me a try. And at that time, there was another guy by the name of Larry Johns that wanted a flag. So we were switching off every other week.
Yeah.
And the people noticed that how much interest I had in the flagging part of it. And the rest is history.
No doubt. Did you have a real job beyond the racing, or what did you do up there? Yeah.
I worked in at 79, and before that I worked at a place called Montgomery Ward's in the automotive center.
Okay.
And then in 79, the year 79, I started working at a packing plant called John Morell's, and I worked on one of the kill floors, which was all manual labor there.
Yeah.
And I'd go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, get done like at 2:30 in the afternoon, and weekends we'd go racing. And back in those days, we used to go we raced Knoxville, Iowa, drive up to a racetrack called Minneapolis, or North Star Minneapolis, and then go back home. We'd get back home probably about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd go to work the next morning.
Wow.
So, yeah, did that for quite a few years. So.
Put some miles on, huh?
Yeah. I've been around this game a couple of days.
Yeah, for sure. What do you remember? 1976, Hartford Speedway. They needed the flagger. What do you remember about getting up in that stand? Just some of your perspective of that first few times in that stand.
I was really, really nervous, and my stomach was in a big knot type of thing, and I just wanted to do a good job. And I had a few people on the outside telling me, the things I should do and things I shouldn't do and stuff, and I just put them all together and kind of came up with my own program type of thing of how I wanted to do stuff.
Nice. So you get to 1983, and I believe if I remember this right or read this right, Hartford is closing down, okay? Or it's and so you had reached out to Jackson and had talked to them. You had done a mystery race here at Knoxville. Yeah. How did that sequence work out? Because sometimes when one door closes, it appears a big door opened up for you.
Yeah, it was a deal where Jackson was a VFW deal, right, and everything was a volunteer thing. So I went to them before I got the call from Cappy, and was talking to them. I said, how would you guys like to rent my flags? And I'll run your flag, or I'll run the flags for you. And they said, well, we'll have to think about it for a while. And and meanwhile, Cappy had already called me and asked me about it. And I told Cappy, I says, can I get back to you in another week or so? I'm waiting on an answer from Jackson, Minnesota. Thank God they said no, they didn't want me. Now I'm in Knoxville and stuff. So it kind of went, around the circle type of deal. But it's
funny how things take care of themselves, even despite some of our energy.
That's the truth. So.
What we look at? I think we look at Knoxville and we see this incredible palace, this beautiful place. What were the early days like here at Knoxville for you? Getting established, the flagger is the lead official. What was that like coming into a place like Knoxville?
At the time, like in what was it, 83 when I first started down here, it was kind of rough. Yeah. Because the people weren't quite used to a black guy being part of auto racing. And when I got down there, for a while I was starting to think my name started with an N instead of a D, because that's how bad and racial it was down there and stuff. Yeah, it was ugly, and I just had to bear through it, and I got through it, and now here I am, at this point. So.
How tough was that though? It's because nobody wants to be called those things. No. How difficult is that?
I just held my tongue and had tough skin, and every night after the races I'd go talk to Cappy. Did I do okay? Did I do right? And it's just one of those deals where in those years, those first 4 or 5 years that I was down here, I just kind of kept to myself and minded my own business.
Yeah. It sounds like you had a huge ally with Cappy, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, he was in your corner the whole time.
My buddy.
Yeah. Okay. Was there a moment? Was there a situation, a driver or someone that in those years when you're like, oh my gosh, you're dealing with all of this, the racial stuff, the being lead official in itself is a bad thing. Was there a breakthrough or something where all of a sudden, or was it just a gradual thing that it kind of?
I think what set everything off it's nothing to brag about, but when Sammy Swindell did the jump and I penalized him,
yeah,
there was more people in that grandstands and at the bottom of the flag stand that wanted to tear my head off. And Cappy come down out of the announcer's booth down under the front straightaway, explained everything. And Cappy came over the radio and said, Doug, after the races, just crawl over the front of the flag stand and go off the track. I said, no. I came up here on that ladder, Cappy, I'll go back down it. And I walked right through them, and at the end of the night, everything was calmed down. And ever since that, things seem to be turned around type of deal. So it was interesting.
We need to step away and take a break, but I want to hang in there more with Doug Clark in just a minute.
Hey, Ashley, what are you up to?
Oh, I just stopped by to grab some sage fruit apples. Now I just have to decide which ones.
You can never go wrong with a Honeycrisp. They're light, crisp, and full of perfectly balanced flavor.
Oh, hey.
You could always go with one of their classics, the Gala or Fuji. They're both sweet and juicy.
Grown in the heart of Eastern Washington, Sage Fruit Company works hard on the farm and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears to consumers all year long.
Well, I couldn't decide which ones. Thanks for the help, guys.
I'll race you to checkout.
The decision to retire. How did you come to that?
Well, it started last year. Was having a little get together up to my campground up there, not my campground, but in our camping deal and stuff. And John, I was going to retire last year. But John McCoy says, well, he's thinking about having a 2-day USAC show. And I says, well, that sounds kind of neat. I'll stick around one more year and then I'm going to retire, John. How's that? Well, okay.
A lot of fathers' dream scenario to have their son follow in the footsteps. What does that mean to you to have Justin continue on the tradition there?
It's neat. I'm hoping he keeps going for as long as I did and stuff. That way I could still get free tickets. But no, it's neat that if he keeps it going, forever how long and stuff. And then I got a grandson. He's already 15, so maybe he can take in after Justin's done, and I'll still have tickets coming.
There you go.
No, it's neat. Justin, it seems like everything he does it, professional like, and he's a hard hitter. He's worse than I am when it comes to people not doing the rules right and stuff like that. And he voices his opinion. I kind of just show my opinion and that type of deal. But Justin's a good guy. He's a good flagger.
That is really, really neat. You shared with us on our MAV TV show earlier this year, you shared with us the night that Justin got hit in the face.
Yeah.
Tell us that again, and I can't, as a dad, I can't even imagine that. What happened there?
Well, there was a race, and Justin already gave him the white flag, and then this car comes by, and the side panel comes off the wing.
Oh.
And it comes up and hits him in the side of the jaw, knocks him out, and I'm turned around reaching to grab the double checkers to hand him.
So you don't see it?
No. And then next thing you know, something's down around my feet, and I said, what the hell are you doing down there? And the next thing, he's not moving. I said, wow, this is kind of serious. I had to hit the red lights, get everybody stopped, and we got the ambulance personnel over, and Justin wakes up, what happened? He didn't. Yeah, so it was kind of a freaky deal, but he's tough, and he got back up, and then probably about a year later or 6 months later, he goes to the dentist to get his teeth worked on, and the dentist says, you been in a fight or something? Justin said, no, why? He said, your jaw's cracked.
So it was,
and he didn't even know it. And so he had a cracked jaw, and stuff, and because he was having a lot of pains and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it ended up cracking his jaw and stuff. So it was
gosh.
quite the hit. I didn't think it would be that much, but yeah.
Now you've had some cuts on your hand, but you've kind of led a charmed life. You've been pretty safe up there in the stands.
Yeah, and this flag stand in Knoxville, I have to say, is probably one of the safest ones I've ever been on, because we've had cars bounce off the front of it where you had to lean back with your flag just so you wouldn't be getting hit. But it's had some hits to it, and it's good. But I've been on some where they're wobbling, and I'm not a man of height, so I hate heights. And had a couple that were on there wobbling, and it was a 2-day show. And I told the promoter, I said, either tighten the flag stand up before I get back up there the next day, or you won't be seeing me up there. And he put some cables on there and tightened her up.
We have one of our turn announcers, Mike Bagley, and he shared this story. He dealt with a fear of heights, but where we call the NASCAR races are from the top of billboards. So to overcome that fear of heights, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I'm sketchy getting up there, but I don't have that. That's amazing to have that flag stand at Charlotte is way up in the air. That must have been quite a climb.
It was, and the ladder's straight up and down. And when I first got up there, I wasn't very comfortable, but then because you could feel it swaying and things like that, and that makes me kind of nervous. But then after you sit there for a while and you get used to it and stuff.
Kind of like the boat
and
rocket.
And I don't like somebody behind me assistant, bouncing around and jerking around and all this kind of stuff. So I give pretty strict orders when I'm on the flag stand, especially when the flag stands up in there pretty good.
Yeah. You talk about other people on the flag stand. Years and years ago, when I first came to Knoxville, you got me up there for a practice session. You have shared with dignitaries, you've shared the flag stand with some pretty neat people over the course of time. Who are some of the ones that stand out to you?
Jeff Gordon was one. Jeff Gordon was on the flag stand down here, and they started the race or whatever, and the cars crashed. Jeff Gordon turns around to us and says, "Did I cause that?" I said, "No."
I remember that story.
That was the best one. But had him up there. Tony Stewart, Casey Kane was going to come up there one year, and but his car, he was having car trouble, so he had to work on his car. What's the guy? He was a good road racer. With the curly hair.
Boris said? Boris
said.
He
was up there. He was shocked. It's people don't realize the speed those cars are carrying when they're on the flag stand.
I know I didn't. I know I didn't. And your flags are bed sheets, okay? You use the big flags, okay? And I'll share this. Doug said, just make sure you don't bring it down when the cars go by. Well, I'm up there. I mean, the first few cars, I'm doing a good job, but then I didn't get thinking about it because I thought I'm looking like Doug Clark here. And I'll never forget, Pittman was in the Hefner 27 car, and I brought it down just as he went by. And I thought the flag in my arm were going to just leave my body. And you look and say, I told you. It is amazing. It really, truly is. Doug, as I wrap this up, I think to me, selfishly, the most important question is, you're retiring. I got one more. Is there a track still that you would like to announce at, or a flag at? Is there one on the bucket list that you didn't get, or you're good?
No, I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Now that important one, okay? Selfishly, over the course of the last couple years, I'll just share this: Chili Bowl, Jackson Nationals. I have enjoyed sitting down and having a cold beer and chatting before the race. Will you stay around the sport? I know you've talked about free tickets, so will you stay around the sport and be a fan of the sport?
Well, one thing, I got too much money invested into a camper down there, so I got to come down
there. There you go.
And second, I'll be walking around the infield down in Knoxville and what other racetracks and stuff. I'm not going to just walk away from everything. I'll still be down there every weekend.
That's the best news yet. That is good. So I guess I'll just catch you down the road. But thanks so much for hanging out with us. Appreciate the time.
No problem.
How about that? Hall of Famer Doug Clark joining us here on Wing Nation. Our Tweet Your Seat Tweets of the Week are coming up next.
Citywide to countryside. Whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading protection to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Welcome back. You're watching Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit, and it is your time of the week. That's right, it's time for the Tweet Your Seats Tweets of the Week. Now, each and every Saturday, we show a handful of tweets that we get, but you have to tweet them into us so that we can live vicariously through these guys when we don't get to go to the racetrack. So make sure you use the hashtag #TweetYourSeat and tag us at Wing Nation in your tweet so that you can be here every Saturday morning joining us on the Tweet Your Seats. And we're going to kick it off with none other than the fabulous Lincoln Speedway. Their week 2 of their season starting off. Andrea, Rich, Ryan, and Jeff tweeted in, Mother Nature is finally cooperating. As we talked about a little bit earlier, Shark Racing making the trip there, getting 2 weeks in Pennsylvania to do a little bit of racing. But Dylan Sisney finally picks up his first win at Lincoln Speedway. Now, they give him a rough time because they call him a porch sitter because he doesn't leave Port Royal Speedway. So it was really cool to finally see him pick up his first win at Lincoln. And then he was followed by Danny Dietrich and Brian Monty.
And that was a really good race. I don't know if you saw the highlights or watched it, but very exciting. We're going to head off to Lucas Oil ASCS races at Canyon Speedway Park. We have tweets from Erin, ASCS, and N8V Nick.
Yeah, welcome to us. We don't know how to say it.
Okay, well, we'll just go with that. They had 48 cars for their season opener. Night 1, Matt Covington won. Gio Selzy, again, we were talking about him last week. Pavement, dirt, whatever, he's doing great. Justin Sanders was 3rd. On night 2, Sam Haferty, who is not running the full tour this year, but just came and showed up and won. And Sanders was in 2nd. And Harley White got a podium, top 3. I think she's just on the uphill. She's got Johnny Herrera working with her. The 2nd season together. I think great things are ahead for her.
Absolutely. Now we're off to Keller Auto Speedway. John tweeted in this picture. Gotta love him hanging out there in his lawn chair in the pits. It was the King of the Thunder 360. Keith Day was your winner. It was his first career sprint car win. Really, really cool stuff here. He gave away the win last week, so I knew this one had to be extra special. His 2nd season racing sprint cars, so pretty good stuff coming from there. And he was followed up by Grant Duenkirken and Carlin Henry.
Then we go to Marysville Raceway. We got a tweet from T. Plunkett. It was the Sherm and Lori Toller Memorial. 360 sprints, spec sprints, and wingless. And Ryan Robinson led all 25 laps. Andy Forsberg 3rd. And the 15-year-old Jesse Love finishing 3rd.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. That's your Tweet Your Seats Tweets of the Week. Like I said, be sure to tweet us so that your picture can show up here next Saturday morning. We'll be right back here with more on Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit.
Hey Ashley, what are you up to?
Oh, I just stopped by to grab some sage fruit apples. Now I just have to decide which ones.
You can never go wrong with a Honey Crisp. They're light, crisp, and full of perfectly balanced flavor.
Oh, hey.
You could always go with one of their classics, the Gala or Fuji. They're both sweet and juicy.
Grown in the heart of Eastern Washington, Sage Fruit Company works hard on the farm and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears to consumers all year long.
Well, I couldn't decide which ones. Thanks for the help, guys.
I'll race you to checkout.
We're back watching Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit. Thanks to Doug Clark for catching up with Steve. Always great to hear what Doug has to say. He's a character in the least bit. I know you've gotten to chat with him as well.
Yeah.
Just a really cool career that Doug has had.
He has. It's so neat, and it was kind of bittersweet to see his last season and be there for some of the races. But racing in Knoxville for years, he was always such a big supporter, always a buster. He's always busting someone, has a good joke for everyone. He surely will be missed, but I'm sure we'll still see him around the racetrack.
Absolutely. Can't doubt that. But of the upcoming races we have, obviously Lincoln Speedway still digging strong. Week 3 for sure. Port Royal Speedway kicks off today, this afternoon, and tomorrow for their first race. ASCS, like we said earlier, they're digging through Placerville tonight and Petaluma tomorrow. And of course, the World of Outlaws start March 13th, so it's right around the corner. You know what? You got to follow it all here. wingnation.com. If you get a little lost, you need a schedule. We've got everything, who's carrying it, where you can watch it. Be sure to tweet us on Twitter. Check out everything we've got on our Facebook and our social media, our YouTube for our interviews that we do along the way. And there you have it, folks. We're so glad you joined us. I'm Ashley Stremme. This is Erin Evernham, and we'll see you next week here on Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit.